Hey, it's Ricky Carmichael, and you're watching the MotoXpod show.
What's up, you guys? Jeremy McGrath here. You are listening to MotoXpod show.
Welcome back to another Vital MX MotoXpod show presented by Race Tech and Boyesen. Tonight we have a privateer, Kevin Moranz, who pulled a couple hole shots this weekend and even led the 450 main for just a few moments. Really excited to talk to him about that. We also have former factory rider Cole Seeley making his return to the Monster Energy Supercross this weekend. Should be a lot of fun with those guys. Before we get into the show, let me introduce in studio, as normal, Scotty Thompson. What's up, Scotty?
Oh, not much. Just hanging out and ready to see what Island Boy over here has got to say.
And I just don't even know what to say about the shirt he's got on. It's god awful.
It's amazing.
So also in studio, it's about damn time, TJ Smith. What's going on, TJ?
What's up, guys?
Good to have you in.
You really?
Not really.
I've
no.
got to say, I've just got completely trashed the whole time I've sat here.
You look like a homeless person.
Well, we have to-
It's
man.
a homeless. This is. I'm like. I just.
You look like a homeless person.
It's
Also,
the beautiful weather outside. The shirt with the
with your tits
coconut tree
kind of showing through.
nipples.
Anyway, also on the phone, my buddy from Vital MX, Michael Lindsay. What's going on, ML?
Thank goodness I remembered how to turn my own mute button off.
Hey, if you didn't, it wouldn't be anything unusual for this show, so it'd be all right. So good to have you on. How's sunny California?
It's not sunny. It rained again today.
What is going on with the world?
Outdoor testing. A bunch of the teams are in town, particularly all the Austrian manufacturers, because of the new HQ grand opening we actually went to last night. All their groups tried to go out and test up Holiday, and it got Fox Raceway, and it got cut short because it decided to downpour again. It's been rain every week since the beginning of the year, and I don't know what it is. I blame Lewis and Sean. They somehow brought their English weather with them. I've never seen anything like this. I'm born and raised in SoCal. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's unusual. I want to ask you about the KTM, the new shop and everything here in a second, but I want to talk about our presenting sponsor. This is the Boyesen Intake Discussion segment. Boyesen is excited to spotlight Boyesen's Factory Racing's Rider Support Program, a comprehensive support system for motocross and off-road riders. The program offers participants exclusive access to Boyesen's products, yearly discounts, and the potential to become one of their new product development test riders. So join the community of Boyesen Factory Flyers. Visit boyesen.com and apply today. Yeah, ML, talk about the KTM intro, or I guess it's their shop intro. I don't know exactly what the title was, but like everybody from KTM was there, right? The factory riders, the off-road riders, the GP guys, I think were there. Or not?
No GP guys.
Okay, no GP guys.
So it's actually Pierre Mobility. A lot of people on the North American side don't recognize the parent company name, but Pierre Mobility, owned by Stefan Pierre, and they have a board of directors and investors and everything. But that is actually the parent company of the entire group. So KTM, Husqvarna, Gas, now MV Agusta, Felt Bicycles, all that is under that umbrella. So the new HQ, that's actually what it says all over, is Pierre Mobility. It's right up the street from their old HQ, right on the Temecula-Murrieta, California border. They basically bought this property, custom built this new campus, 3 buildings totaling 122,000 square feet, $53 million. One building alone is dedicated just to racing. That's all it is. It's R&D, WP, suspension, engine departments, every race team, all lumped into one kind of grand design. And that's really a big part of what they wanted to show off outside of the main headquarters that has the offices and the design studio and things of that. It was a big part of it was showing that, a solid almost half of the square feet on the campus is just dedicated to racing. So they brought out all their U.S. athletes, motocross, supercross, GNCC, flat track. They had dignitaries from Riverside County. The entire KTM Austrian board came over. Mr. Pierre himself. I don't know. There's probably 700-800 of us there. It seemed like it was a very busy event. Everybody, guys from Feld, racetrack side like David Coombs came out, Prater, like whole 9 yards.
Yeah. What was the most impressive thing you saw there?
definitely the race shop was impressive. It's laid out with like suspension engine departments more in the kind of in the center of the building, and then surrounded by all the race teams. And in their prior setup, and not for any particular reason, just more as it grew, like the KTM building had race area for KTM's avenues, and then they had a Husky building next door that had a small race shop area, and then off-roads were in an off-site. Like everybody had a different work area. They went about making every area completely even and fair, which was really cool. So whether it's amateur squad, whether it's Blair's, his boys work area, the flat track team, Red Bull, KTM, they all have identical shops. You can make everybody take their tools, move down a door to the next shop, and they'd have the same workspace. So they've given, kind of everybody in there the same tools, regardless of where they are, to, maybe kind of eliminate some of the status between the efforts. So I thought that was super impressive. And yeah, just all under one roof, as dumb as it sounds. It just makes communication for those guys easy. You could be, the boys in the TLD shop, pop out, walk down 50 feet to the next door, pop in, ask the Rockstar Husky guys, hey, we were thinking about trying this, this race, this offset. You guys tried it with Malcolm before. Like, what feedback did you get? Or like, hey, we're thinking about trying this. Have you got any feedback like that from your guys? Yeah, just impressive that a lot of brands, of course, are leaving Southern California, and the fact that they doubled down and put that much money into a completely one-off campus here and invested into it. For me being born and raised out here, I appreciate it. I actually got to talk to Mr. Pierre himself. First time I think I've shook a billionaire's hand. I just told him, I'm like, hey man, I'm born and raised here from about 15 minutes from here. I just really appreciate that you put your money where your mouth is with racing and putting everybody up here. And he was definitely very passionate about that aspect, especially.
Do they have that same setup like in Europe or whatever, where they're all together, all working like that same thing, or is that just what they're doing here in the States?
Similar. So the HQ here is definitely based off the Austrian one. The Austrian one, I think, is actually a little bigger, but the US one is more money. I mean, it's in California.
Right.
The race shop's not quite, because race, the HQ's in Austria. It does have racing areas, development, suspension, engines, like all that kind of in one house, and design, etc. However, in Europe, most of the race teams commonly operate out of their satellite shop. So like KTM and Husqvarna work out of the satellite shops near the sand tracks in Belgium. Like every team's based out there. And then like Claudio De Carle, the Red Bull, the gas operation is in Italy. So the race shops aren't there, but the rest of it, there's racing areas. It's still modeled pretty closely after it. Some of the enduro stuff's done out there. They told me one of the biggest differences is that the Austrian building is almost all glass. They put as much glass in this one as they could, but the racing areas are a little more covered up, because I think, as I joked with Ian Harrison, he said we had to tell him, this is Southern California, we'll burn if we do all glass walls.
I was really surprised that they did that there in California with the whole training and where all the riders are and all that stuff in Florida. I think that was the most surprising thing to me was, literally on the other side. I don't know if they just didn't realize how big the United States was.
It's they felt like, Pierre talked about when he first bought the KTM brand back in like 92, about 30 years ago, bought it out of bankruptcy. At the time, the racing industry in the US, or motorcycle industry, which they still say, the US is their largest market. The company produces a little over $2 billion in sales, and 1.1 billion of that is just the US market.
Wow.
They wanted it in California. That's where everything was. They started in San Diego. They still believe in the industry still kind of being hosted and based here. Some of their suppliers being out here. And the other thing is, like, they also have the investment. They're very unique that they have 2 or 3 supercross test tracks, and endurocross test track, all this stuff. They built this facility a quarter of a mile from the HQ. So their guys can literally ride. They don't ride down the road because legal issues. I don't think they want to do it. They put everything in the van and drive literally a minute, and they are at their test tracks.
Yeah.
So they have all their ability tests here. It is unique that their athletes do in Florida, but they wouldn't move the entire business out to where, like I said, this is their HQ for design, for customer service, everything. Even though I talk about the motorsports campus, it makes sense. But I think that's another thing. Even though it's technically Alden's place, they've helped commit to that. It's very impressive what they have here, what they've committed to there. Compared to other teams that maybe let the riders sort of pick and choose where they're at. They've kind of put roots down on both sides of the coast where they put their money in.
Yeah, very impressive. I want to check that place out next time I'm out there. Let's get to, we're coming off Seattle, And I want to touch on Chase Sexton. It's been talked about the issues that he's had, another freaky crash. But what I want to know, TJ, I'm going to go to you first. Just we're predicting he's going to go to KTM. I don't think that's been locked in just yet officially. But do you think I'm starting to get to a point where I feel like this is just Chase, and I wonder if changing brands changes anything. Like, I'm kind of getting worried about Chase Sexton's career, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the same thing with Kenny. He was like kind of pointing towards the bike, and then how Suzuki's going to revitalize him or wherever he goes, and then it didn't change as much as we thought it would, and especially not in a positive way. So maybe it is just Chase, but I guess a certain riding style could fit certain bikes. Because remember, whenever Villapoto was the main guy behind the the Kawasaki's, the bike was such a rear steering bike. It was designed for him. I don't know if Honda is designing their bike around Chase, where you have the Austrian companies who will probably do that more towards their top guys than Honda would, I would think.
Yeah, Honda's not. We've heard from Kenny and even Cole a little bit that Honda's not quite as open to rider input anyway. I think they've been a little bit better this season, but yeah, you might be right. ML, what do you think, man? I know you probably have more details about the bikes and how they perform with these guys and what they'll be willing to do with Chase. But could Chase be a guy that almost is not a flop, but just doesn't win a championship? He has too many problems.
The change at least could answer one thing for him if it is him or the bike. At least, going there could possibly accept that. I think, as with anybody, eventually sometimes you just need a change of scenery. He may be able to accept their help more, maybe in understanding some of the issues. If it is him with setup, the way he rides, if it is the bike, it is going to a very opposite end, going to a steel frame. They run big front forks, a lot of things. Maybe they can get the front end character that he's looking for, the hold up, the ability for it to not give way. However, I also, like I've kind of talked about last couple of weeks, is I personally am under the opinion when they talk about, he's pushing the bike beyond what it is. Well, we kind of get into the old James argument of that point. Like, well, if you're pushing it beyond what it's capable of and we can't get it there, maybe we need to consider other options in terms of, how you ride the bike, where you're pressuring the front end when you're doing it. I don't think going there, it's just going to be the magic answer. I can't say it's just like, he's going to get on a different bike and it's going to be better. I think it's going to be a host of things. He's going to learn, maybe it does support him better in ways. Maybe people there have ideas to help get him there. And not that there isn't smart enough people at Honda. It's just maybe they've been around each other so long and they've spun past some of them something. It's going to be a host of things. If they figure it out, it will be a combination of the bike, the staff, and Chase Hall learning.
Do we think that, like, it's just the way that all the manufacturers are going to go? Because think back to when Ricky used to have his handlebars down on his gas tank and the crazy chopper out setup he had, and then Stewart with like forks that did not move and that kind of stuff. But nowadays you don't hear about such a thing. Do you think the technology has gotten to where they pretty much know what the bike's going to do and they know what's right, and the riders are going to have to adapt?
I think with certain OEMs, you have to get to that point. Like it's you have Kenny's comment related to the Honda, and you talk to everybody else that was there and talk about how weird his setup was, like super rear end high, super stiff rear, kind of soft front. The Honda already has weird front end character issues. Did he load the bike? Like, I think of, when I hear like auto racing, I hear Formula One guys, I hear like Lando Norris. Like last year, McLaren was struggling a lot, and a lot of people saw Lando heavily outperforming Daniel Ricciardo, and a lot of people thought, the car's just suited more for Lando. And Lando kept saying, no, the car doesn't drive how I want to drive at all. I've had to adapt to that. And you hear drivers hit a team where, yes, sometimes it is developed around person. The other person there has to change their way more. And it's so interesting because in moto, there is so many ways to skin a cat. Look at how Eli rides. Look how Justin rides. Look how Kenny rides. Look how Chase rides. They all ride. They do certain things the same, basic fundamentals, and there are certain things they do so different. But somehow we can end up with the same result of lap time, pretty close to similar results. I think at a certain point with the rider, sometimes you have to accept that the bike cannot do things in the way I want it to. And if we chase it so far that direction, we may hinder it in other places. Maybe they have to accept more often that they have to change. And I don't know if that's just difficult in our sport for some guys to handle and be able to mentally be okay with.
Scotty, I want to go to you. One of the reasons I asked this is by this point, Chase should know, okay, this bike keeps doing this. Whether I'm pushing too hard or whatever the reason is, it does keep doing this. I need to change something. And I feel like there's a mental block there or something that he's not understanding why the bike's doing this. So if he goes somewhere else, what's to say he's not going to just continue having the same problem, because he doesn't seem to understand or figure out mentally, like, I need to back it down or I need to change something so it doesn't keep happening. And this weekend, with when you could hear Ricky's voice, he was just so disgusted when he's like, oh no, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was just like, he was so frustrated because he couldn't believe it. And I'm kind of getting to that point where this is on you, Chase. You've got to figure something out mentally to stop doing this.
And it's really bizarre. It always happens at the 9-minute mark. Seems like I was watching the race, oh, he's got this. I was like, wait, we're not past 10 minutes yet. And then soon enough, 9 minutes 40 something seconds on the clock, and there he
You
goes.
hear the crowd go crazy.
Yeah.
You don't even wonder anymore.
Yeah. I know. It's oh, I know, there it is. But the way I kind of look at it, though, honestly, is we've seen a lot of guys kind of go through this same struggle a little bit. I mean, it was only 4 years ago that we said this. We were still saying the same thing about Eli. Is he ever going to get this championship?
That's a good point.
Why does he always keep happening? He's faster than everybody and he can't do it. And, so it wasn't that long ago that we were having that conversation, and that script has totally flipped now to where, Tomac is a legend of the sport now and is noticed one of the greats because he's got those championships. So I don't think it's over for him yet. I just think he's going to have to go through this learning curve just like a lot of other people did. Ricky went through it. Is he going to be another James Stewart where he doesn't ever seem to figure it out? I mean, Stewart got 2 championships, so he did something right. But I think it's not much different than what anybody else has gone through that's had the speed that he has.
Hey, ML, I'm in trouble.
What'd you do already?
Well, I just got a text from Lewis who's listening.
Oh, he's actually listening.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
he says, you were worried about Chase's career, all in caps. You're blocked. But
to the point there earlier, it's still early, and guys have been this fast and figure out. It's just learning how to manage a season, to execute. It's all things that will come to him. And like I said, sucks. Maybe it does need to be a change of scenery, a reset for him. Maybe it can't happen in this situation. He'll get there. It's going to happen. He's one of those guys you look at him, you're just like, you're almost in disbelief if it ever wouldn't happen. He will figure it out at some point. But I think a tough one, again, is the 2 guys he's racing. It's not quite the length of legacy, but I mean, Tomac and Webb are our current Dungey Villo. They won the last 4 titles between them. Before that, it was the Dungey Villo era. These are guys that have learned, have become veterans. They know how to execute. They know how to do it. Chase is still young. He'll get there. It just sucks he's really going up against these 2 guys. And again, the fact that they're comboed both on really good years, it would be one thing to look at the gap he's facing right now, or even just some of the battles this season. If it was only Eli he was facing off against, or only Cooper, there would be different ways to handle it. But taking on both of them, it's tough. Again, they're guys that have gone to the point they don't really have terrible nights. Yes, Eli's had some off nights this year, but they aren't even Chase's issues. And it's why I think like in Lewis's case, and somebody there was the ability to defend. It is even Chase's nights where he would go down, it wasn't a terrible result. None of these guys have crashed. None of these guys have had a plus injury yet where they've crashed out of the main and leading and finished 13th or 14th, last person on lead lap. None of them have had that yet. We haven't had a truly bad race out of one of them. And again, if it wasn't for the 2 guys he would be going up against, I think Chase's season would still look pretty fantastic on paper.
Well, yeah, that's what's probably the most frustrating thing is he legitimately has been the fastest guy, fastest qualifier almost every week. I mean, even in Seattle, his heat race, he almost caught, or he did catch Cooper right at the end. He was 2 seconds down and made that up in just a couple laps. I mean, he is the fastest guy, and it's so frustrating that these things just keep happening. But this one in Seattle, like I said, it just sort of. Well, hang on, you both want to talk.
I just had a question for you guys.
Go ahead.
Do you think the finger gun got into Chase's head at all?
No.
Oh,
Jesus. I'm gonna bring the finger gun up in a second.
It all happened.
But yeah, it was just frustrating because You see the talent, you see the skill, and the same thing keeps happening. And you're just like, at this point, it's like you just expect it. And I don't like that. I don't want that for Chase. What'd you have, TJ?
Well, I was going to say, is there any chance at that Jet coming up, like he knows that his time for multiple championships and stuff like that is going to be under fire when you have somebody like Jet moving up? It's like I'm pressuring myself, I'm pushing because I got to get up there now and assert the dominance. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I do believe that Jet's going to be a force at least the second year, minimum.
I can't imagine that Chase is even worried about Jet right now. He's got Cooper and Eli to worry about. And
I would say he's facing, it's not like he doesn't have real competition right now. Like, don't get me wrong, none of us can predict what Jet's career is going to look like. But again, we're talking about where Eli is in the win records and stuff. He's dealing with a force right now. It doesn't change. You're on the starting gate. You have competition. It doesn't change. I think there's definitely, of course, pressure. It's not as pressure Jet. It's pressure to beat the guys he wants to beat right now. He wants to beat Eli before he hangs it up. He wants to stop the second coming of, because Cooper's not that old. It's like, well, you don't want Coop to go on a couple, like to really get into a groove again and be in the championship hunt. It's not only Jet coming up, it's he wants to assert his dominance over the guys leaving, the one he's going to have to race for a couple more years. He wants to show the guys coming up that he's the guy.
Yep.
He wants to prove to himself he's the guy. It's everything.
Hey, all of us here have bikes, except, well, Scotty. Sort of.
I was going to ask, did the new KTM shop have any camshafts lying around?
Yeah, no kidding. Could have grabbed one. Just could have had ML grab you one off one of the trays.
Yeah, sweet.
I have a race piston. They let me take home one of those.
Oh, there you go.
That's cool.
But all of our bikes have suspension. Need to service your suspension, tune your suspension to your weight, to your speed, to your ability. You got to check out racetech.com. They have service centers all over the country with techs that generally are at your local tracks riding. You could talk to, you can watch them ride, you can kind of get information, share information back and forth. This week's service center tech is PDR Performance in Minnesota. Clay Olson does my stuff. Yep. He's a good guy up there. If you're in the Minnesota area, reach out to PDR Performance. Talk to Clay. He'll get you fixed up. He's got my YZ250 hooked up now. I had some issues with it. He's got the Vital Husky 350 that ML is probably not going to ever get back.
Do you think that they have the skills to make sure your bike doesn't front flip down a straightaway?
I think so. Yeah, I think they do. So check out racetech.com and look for your local Racetech service center. They want to help you. They get you dialed in. Check them out. Before we get to our first guest, let's quickly talk about Cooper Webb. Terrible qualifying, Scotty.
Like the worst.
Wasn't good. It was the worst qualifying he's had all year. 9th. I actually said that in the press conference. And I instantly remembered Lewis saying that all I do is ask negative questions to start interviews. So I brought up his poor qualifying, but then he wins a heat. You know, he's second in the main. He wasn't really catching Eli, but you just never know what you're going to get out of Cooper. The qualifying matters not. But really what I want to ask about is the finger gun that you talked about in the heat race. Looks back as Chase is about to catch him and pass him. One more lap, Chase has him. Kind of cocky.
Yeah.
Maybe playing mental games, but is it disrespectful to a guy like Chase?
No, and I don't think it is. And you said, like, y'all were saying that, no, it didn't affect Chase. Whether it affected Chase or not, I mean, nobody knows except for Chase.
If I'm Chase, I'm laughing. I'm like, dude, I had you.
But what I'm saying is that the intent from what Cooper did was to get into his head. You know, he plays those games. He's known for screaming on the line and doing all that stuff. And I think he knows. I think he did it because he knows Chase would be the most susceptible to that out of any of the other guys. I don't think Barczyk gets really fazed by that. I don't think Tomac does. I don't think Chase really got fazed by it either, but I think his thought was that person is the most susceptible to doing something like that. Okay. And he's going to be thinking about that when he has a lead. But to go back to what you first started with, I think that's Cooper's MO is to maybe not look that great in qualifying, and he just finds a way done. And you said that he hasn't been off the podium this year, like really. I mean, there's a couple of races, but for the most part, he's been right there, and that's what's put him with the red plate. So I think that it's calculated with him. He knows exactly what he's trying to do. He knows what needs to be done, and qualifying 9th obviously didn't affect the results. So it's like he puts the money where the mouth is when it's time to.
TJ, the respect thing though, again, Yeah, he did it to Kenny a couple years ago. I don't see him doing that if that's Eli behind him. I wonder like how Cooper sees Chase compared to Eli in this championship, if there's the same respect competitive wise.
I don't think there's anybody that he wouldn't do that stuff to or play the games with. I mean, it's Webb. He's like, that's just who he is, which is, I think it's awesome. But I don't see him not doing that to anybody, if that makes sense. I mean, when he was down there on the line yelling, everybody was down there.
That's true.
You know, he's not bashful about it.
The finger point thing, ML, is just a little like it's cool. It's kind of funny. It's cool in a way, but then at the same time, it's like, man, it's just real easy for that to bite you in the ass. Like, oh yeah, okay, now let me show you how it's done in the main event.
But it didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's whatever. Basically, at the end of the day, Coop's a character. He has this thing to read too much into any of this. Okay, so we're all saying, did it affect Chase? Well, it affected all of us sitting here talking about it. Apparently a lot more because we're the only ones that seem to give a damn.
Yeah. Okay.
No, at the end of the day, it doesn't really. Yeah, it's metal game stuff, but at the same time, yeah, Chase caught him. It didn't really do anything. Yeah.
I think the only thing I didn't like about it, real quick, is him going, "Yeah, it was a mental game." The best way to handle this, I'm just having fun.
Did he say that?
He did. He did bring it up in the press conference, and he said that. Yeah, I'm just doing that to mess with the guys. I mean, that's kind of weird to me. But if he came out there and said, "Hey, I'm just having fun. We're out there racing, and whatever," then I think that would be more of a mental game than trying to tell them I'm having a mental game with you, kind of.
Yeah. All right, ML. Oh,
I was going to say, so do you don't think that out of all of those people, Cooper thinks that Chase is more or less susceptible than any of the other
top
guys?
Three?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would say of the top three, that's most likely if he thinks that. Yeah. Yes. ML, of the, let's say the top 5 top guys in the 450 class, who do you think would be the most susceptible to a mental game?
Well, if it involves Cooper Webb, it's Ken Roxon.
Yeah. I think that was proven a couple years ago. All right, fair enough.
History speaks
we've
for
already,
itself.
We've already seen history has already shown us this.
Yeah. Scotty, who do you think of those guys? The top challengers.
That Cooper thinks?
Just no, in general, who do you think would be the most susceptible to that? Like, you got AC, you got Kenny, Jason Anderson, Barsha.
To be honest with you, I think Anderson.
Okay, yeah.
I think he would get. I think he would be more worried about beating him than actually what would
problem is Anderson has to be there.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, but I'm just thinking of the time. He's top 5 guys, so I'm just thinking this was the question.
Yeah, I think that's actually, to me, that's not a bad answer because we've seen what he's done this year, where he should be racing ahead and he's too worried about other people, and even last year, and then he makes these stupid mistakes. And I brought that up to him in Houston, and he's sort of like, yeah, sometimes it's hard to. He said it's hard for a tiger to change a stripe. So, yeah, I think that's a fair answer. The track, ML. So Seattle got some rain, and they tarped it, and I just want to give props, all of us, we talk about it, but the track was very rough, but I feel like the track crew this year has done a fantastic job of, when there has been issues, keeping the track in decent condition and making it raceable. Props to the track. I thought it was a lot better than it could have been, ML.
No, I think just in general, yeah. Tracks. I'm always on the fence though with the track thing. Like,
okay,
I'm always bummed because there's not enough variation. I still think all the Supercross tracks are too cookie cutter week in and week out. Like, I just look at them all and you're like, oh, they're gonna go 2, 3, this. No, but prep wise, with some of the weather they've dealt with around, yeah, their work size, like it's very easy to criticize little things on the track like I just did. But they put these things together every week. They have managed us through some pretty terrible situations with weather and gotten us a raceable track. Again, with the Oakland situation earlier this year, that's the first time basically in forever they've had, basically they've been beaten. No, they always get it to us every weekend. And honestly, it was a lot better than I expected considering the photos I saw in the morning and the fact that usually Seattle the dirt's already pretty saturated. It seems like when they get it into the floor, I don't know if it's an outdoor kept or just never removes the moisture through the year. I was expecting worse. The guys definitely did struggle with the rhythm lanes, the way they were built, particularly the 250s, but I thought visually Indy looked worse from our standpoint.
I agree, and I want to come back to some more track talk, but I think we have our first guest of the night on the line, and he's going to be brought to you tonight by Guts Racing. Andy Gray at Guts Racing. Their crew is brought. Boy, I'm screwing this up. Guts Racing crew has been providing the best seat and foam in the industry for years. For 2023, they've added Kawasaki to their complete seat lineup, as well as the color teal to the gripper material options available. Also new for 2023 are options for your e-bikes. They have complete seats for the Talaria, the Super 73, and covers for Segway and Suron, and they have options for the Honda, KTM, and Husqvarna electric bikes. Visit gutsracing.com. Place your order today. Gutsracing.com brings us our first guest of the night, privateer Kevin Moranz. What's going on, Kevin?
How's it going, guys? It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's going good, dude. Good to talk to you. Dude, first of all, what you got under the hood of that thing? What do you...
Dude, I had so many people ask me that too. Like, oh, dude, you got a big boy. You got what you got going on? I'm like, dude, I would love it for them to protest me and tear my bike down. I would video everything just so that when they see that it legitimately is a stock bike, I would just laugh.
Hey, the funny thing, I was going to ask, like, did you forget to turn the nitrous off going into that corner? Is that what?
No, trust me. I was like, because, okay, so like kind of how I explained what you guys probably have already seen, like the interviews and stuff like that. But the biggest thing for me is obviously trying to prove myself to get some kind of supported ride or factory ride, right? So obviously being able to start like that, that's good. And I proved that even last weekend or 2 weekends ago when I started fourth. But when I started fourth, I was kind of like, you know, I was freaking out to an extent. I was more worried about the people that were behind me, everything that was going on, being up there so far and not really focusing forward. So that was like the key thing, even though, yes, I obviously went off the track pretty dang quick. But that was the biggest thing that transitioned for this week is when I did get that good start and I even kind of like fought back with Sexton a little bit. Like going over the finish line, I was fully focused. Like I was calm. I knew my situation. Yes, I know I'm not as fast as those guys yet. Yes, I knew they were going to get around me. But I just told myself, I was like, dude, just try to keep this as long as you can.
Absolutely.
And fight for as long as you can. Even if you tucker out and you end up last, like just keep this as long as you can. So obviously went into the next section and I hit that triple out the same way I was hitting it in the heat. But obviously we get a sight lap. I just rolled it during the sight lap and it's different from the heat. So when I hit it, I kind of, you'll see in the video, I kind of like pucker up a little bit because I hit a kicker going off of it. But I just go long, land in the ruts, and there was no way I could have turned.
Yeah, I was wondering if you just missed your break, and then Chase kind of would have run you in pretty deep if you had been able to make the turn. So I was wondering if you missed your break and just came in a little too hot.
Yeah, I was. Well, you'll see in the video a little bit. Like I kind of land awkwardly and cross rut a little bit, which then shifts my weight. Because honestly, yeah, like Sexton, he was there a little bit. He was going to be close enough to the point where I couldn't lean hard to the other way. Mm-hmm. So I would have had to stand up anyway. And considering obviously the awkwardness of landing and going long, like my suspension isn't as good as theirs. It didn't soak it up like their suspension would. So yeah, it threw me off the track. So it was my fault. Nobody else's fault. I saw a lot of people hating on Sexton, like, oh, why are you doing? Like, no, that unfortunately, I'll take it 100%. I'll take that one to the chin. That was all me. But no, it's just cool to be in that situation and get that experience as a privateer with no pressure on me. So then hopefully somebody gives me an opportunity or something like that. And I already have that kind of experience under my belt, you know?
Absolutely.
So I would say, watching over the last couple of years, how you've improved, I've seen, whether it's fans or people always want to see the little guy or the up and comer get the opportunity. I've seen your name thrown out a few times when, if there is an injured ride or different stuff like that. And I've even had people pose questions like in our forum and towards me, like, oh, why isn't this guy getting picked over that? And I would say up until a little bit, like you said, getting out and hole shotting and actually showing you can run with them is a bigger deal, because at the end of the day, you've been improving, but like 15s, 14s, 16s, until you're running with these guys, at the end of the day, everybody just looks at it as like, oh, cool, he's getting better, but has he beat anybody that has a ride worth replacing? So I would say is that, has it been tough to go through all that, like improve and not get noticed, but finally to do something like that? Do you see why like people wait to see something like that from a rider to show that you can actually literally run with the guys when it's needed?
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of parts to that question, right? I think the biggest one is I love what I do so much on the racing side, but I almost love the business side as much as I do the racing side. So that like me setting up my program, having my program as efficient as it is, I really enjoy both sides of that. So like it's fun for me whether I'm getting picked up or not. I love the way I have my program set up. I don't have a whole lot of pressure. I have a lot of, freedom. which is really cool. And the whole fan interaction, the vlog thing I've got going on, like I've got a lot of things going my direction, which is nice. Like if I didn't have any of that, I'd probably be pretty salty. Why isn't anybody giving me a shot? I don't know what to do kind of deal. But like, I'm loving life the way it is. And my goal, because it's nice to be the underdog to an extent, because you don't have a whole lot of pressure on you. So the more that I can prove myself with those factory riders as somebody that obviously does not nearly have the equipment that those guys have, my time will come. I believe that. And if it doesn't, then I'm just going to keep having fun and keep loving what I'm doing, staying with the fans. And, just that's the biggest thing, is just enjoying what I do. Like if I didn't enjoy what I do, I'd be a lot more bitter and hate the sport more probably. Why am I, like pointing fingers? But considering I'm just having fun and loving what I'm doing, and I know I'm getting better, and I know I have a whole lot more in me than even, obviously what we've already done, and our continued results get better. But like some people got to realize how much more effort I'm putting into my program than virtually every other racer that's on the main event line. Right. So obviously I do all of my own bike work on Friday. Chris helps me, takes me to the line on Saturday, but changing oil, tires, clutches, all that stuff, I do everything on Friday. Even like when I got a flat tire after quali 2, I pop the tire off, put it back on, stuff like that on race day. So like that, on top of all the social media stuff, on top of me traveling, planning my travel, doing my own bike work, training, like, dude, there's so much that's on my plate that's why I think I have so much more potential. If somebody were to give me an opportunity and take care of a lot of this stuff for me, like how much more effort I could put into the result side of things,
Yeah.
Speaking of that, the next opportunity, like one, I think that's again, from a fan perspective, it's hard for them to weigh what a real opportunity would be for a rider. I remember having this conversation, or sort of like actually an argument a couple years ago on our forum. It was when Factory Suzuki still had a program. I think it was Metcalf's, or somebody got hurt. Oh, it was Baggett, out for like 4 or 5 rounds, and people were throwing out riders' names that should be on the bike. And at the time, Freeze had started to do kind of like what you did, like whole shot races, show he could run a little bit more towards that top group. And somebody threw Vince's name out there, and I commented, because he was with MCR at the time, like he would never take that opportunity. He would never take a 4-race deal to basically push behind the guys that have been helping him all this time, to only randomly ride a bike for 4 rounds, blah blah blah. A couple fans came and go, no, you're crazy. Anybody would take a factory ride opportunity. You're insane. I'm like, let me try this. I texted Vince, hey, this is what people are asking. Vince is like, no way. I would not jump ship for 4 races on a bike I've never rode and hose her back. He goes, I would probably do worse and like taint my image almost in a way. Like, I don't think it would work. So my question to you is kind of explain to people, like when we say like get that opportunity, again, you have people that help you. You've built this program. Is it just, would you take the opportunity to go ride a decent bike if there was no money involved to pay your bills, no anything, just for the opportunity to be like, hey, I get to finally drop all this workload? And also at the same time, what if it was a really good program, but it's for 2 rounds? Like, is it really worth it for you with all the work you've put in to build up yourself and your program and your people? What does the real opportunity look like that actually truly makes sense?
Damn, that's a really good question. I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry, you're like one of the perfect people because of the Vince conversation. You're like one of the perfect people I think that would fit this and let, like, again, a fan understand, like there's more to it than just a good motorcycle. Like there is a lot more.
No, yeah, 100%. Here, I got some good stuff on this question. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm just talking through headphones, so I just want to make sure. So, long story short, the only way I would probably jump ship, especially this late in the season, for a round or 2 or 3 or anything like that, is if it's a cream of the crop team, right? So that's honestly probably KTM at this point, because I would want to be something KTM, Husky, maybe gas. Like they would have to be literally like Barsh. Something has the Barsha and they want me on Barsh's bike kind of deal. Like it would have to be cream of the crop to make me transition for a small amount of time, because then at that point, I think anybody and everybody would understand, because then I'd be kind of under Rogers, scope. It'd be kind of low, like my opportunity maybe for something more in the future. But, anything else, any kind of, lower tier team or not like cream of the crop is just not really worth it. Kind of like how Vince said, like, it's not worth going backwards. It's not worth, obviously disrupting everybody who's had your back. Like, you're not just going to, like, that's one thing I've actually kind of prided myself on throughout racing thus far is I don't really jump companies, right? Like very seldom do I do. And if I do, it's definitely, it's usually on good terms, right? So that's one thing in the sport. You have to be very respectful. You never know when you're going to need somebody again. You don't want to burn bridges. It's, small community, right? So yeah, like that, there's a lot more that goes into it. It's all the people that have helped you get to where you're at, and whether they're going to be cool with it, what are the situations, what companies do you have to switch from. But yeah, it's just the biggest thing is results based, making sure you're not going to go backwards and get on something completely new and then be starting all over for 2 rounds, and you could have awful results and then boom, everybody's like, okay, this dude's a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scotty.
Hey, Kevin. So the theme of this interview has really kind of been, all these efforts are trying to get, to improve your ride and get a better opportunity next year. And it's kind of cool that one of the questions I had was pretty much what we've been talking about. And, your Moranz Mafia is getting bigger, and most importantly, your speed's getting better, and you're making more event events, getting better results. What are some of the companies or teams that you would like to work with, or maybe even potential sponsors that you have your sights on for next year, and where are we at with kind of getting to maybe what you want?
No, biggest person I gotta give a shout out to is Tank Masters. They're the current supporters. I gotta give the people the love that are currently behind me. But obviously my biggest scope, I've been on KTMs for ever since I went pro pretty much. So clearly Roger, DeCoster, the whole KTM gas, Husky team, like something like that would obviously be, my primary goal, I guess. Let's put it that way. Obviously I'm kind of game for anything at this point if it makes sense. Like I'm not just going to jump ship, because I do have a pretty good program set up where there's not very much stress. I do get to make a lot of decisions and everything like that. So it doesn't really make sense for me to jump ship for, somebody that's just going to provide a bike kind of deal. You know what I mean? Like I can do that myself. So I don't know. I'm getting a little bit lost. I don't really know where I need to go from this. You might want to ask your question again, but yeah, long story short, it's just whatever I could do to further myself in this sport without burning bridges and everything like that. And obviously I've been on KTM for a while. So KTM gas Husky's kind of would be the move that would be the easiest transition.
Yeah. What I think Scotty might've been asking, cause I had this question written down too, is like or at least this is my question anyway. What would be the one thing that would make the biggest difference if you could get your hands on it? Would it be factory suspension, or is there one thing that would make a massive difference for you?
Man, that's tough, because there's a lot of things. Obviously the factory suspension, so that's the biggest change that I made from last year to this year, right? Mm-hmm. I've been on, the KTM, I run the WP, cone valve forks, and then I ran stock shock for the last 3 years. This year was the first year that I finally decided to make a change. And I was like, okay, I want to try the A-kit shock. Everybody I am racing has the A-kit shock. There's no way that they're just using it because it looks cool. So I finally got my hands on it, used it. And I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this podcast. I don't know, whatever. But I was at my home track and went through the whoops. We were getting ready to test suspension. I got the first A-kit shock that I wanted to try out. And long story short, went through the whoops with my normal suspension stuff. I got 15th on at the last race in Salt Lake City. I kept that from last year so I could start riding with it at the beginning of this year. Went through the whoops, boom, came off, changed the shock, literally went straight out, went through the whoops again, stomped on the brakes, shut off my bike, and screamed out, "What the F?" Like, it's that big of a difference just from the stock shock to the A-kit shock. Like, I can only imagine what A-kit suspension, like what actual factory suspension feels like. Not only that, but like, mind you, I'm making my own changes in qualifying and everything like that. Like I come over, grab the screwdriver, get on my hands and knees and adjust the rebound of the forks, right? Like I don't have a single person at the races watching film, telling me to do this, do that. Like the fact, just having a team behind you that gives you data, this is the segment that you're losing time in, this is what we think we need to do with suspension, having people that are knowledgeable enough to know what to do correctly, because it's not like the rider always feels what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's the biggest thing, is just having the personnel behind me and the equipment that is up to par with these guys.
Yeah, that's exactly what Josh Varese told us a couple years ago when he got that fill-in ride at Husky for a little bit. He said, wow, having Lit Pro, having somebody show, hey, you're losing 0.2 in this corner, you're losing 1/10 in this corner, And by the end of a lap, you find you've got 2 seconds somewhere, and yeah, so that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. So they're talking about and they brought up a lot of points, I guess, ML. Excuse me, I'm stumbling over my own words. Anyways, brought up a good points about how you could be an insight into how riders, to the general public. My question is, how do you get paid? Are you just making money off of the races? Do you have everybody has bills? I'm just curious about somebody at your level where you're right there under having a team, having a mechanic, all that stuff. What do you do to actually pay your bills?
Moranz Mafia.
Okay, so funny story. This is so I went through because I have an associate's degree. I took all business classes to get it. I've always kind of been business savvy throughout my whole, I guess, life, more or less. I've never had a real job through high school. Mowed lawns, weed eated, all that stuff. So I've kind of always ran my own program, did more working for myself, right?
Yeah.
So I knew coming in, privateer racing is tough. Obviously, through the years, I've met great people, great connections, great sponsors, people that have my back. And obviously, I take the time to create cool sponsorship packages, aka the helmet wraps, the stuff that I do with the bike. Obviously, the vlog has then added more marketing ability for my racing as well. So obviously, I sell spots on the bikes or on the bike, logos, marketing, company, stuff like that. But on top of it, the biggest thing that I wanted to create, because what was it, 2 years ago, I got life lighted from Atlanta, Supercross, got my shoulder fixed, didn't come back until the last 3 rounds of outdoors. Ended up actually doing pretty good and then getting that little fill-in ride for the Rocky Mountain team when Savacci and actually KTM was supporting them. However, when I was down and out, obviously I'm not racing. I'm not getting paid. There's nothing like that. So I knew that I needed to create some kind of monthly income. Racers don't get a monthly income, at least privateers don't. Obviously the dude's getting salaries and stuff like that. Factory teams, obviously I've never had that situation yet. But that's why I created Patreon, because Patreon is a creative way to get fans involved, not necessarily people that have businesses and want logos on the bike. But I was like, how can I create a monthly income while doing what I love, getting people involved, getting fans involved that obviously want more of a fan interaction, behind the scenes look. So that's why I created Patreon, because then that creates a monthly income for me as well, on top of racing and getting paid for the event, on top of sponsorship deals, marketing, yada, yada, yada. So my biggest goal is to create as many streams of income as possible, because then obviously that multiplies, and that's how I pay my bills.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that program a little bit. You and I have talked about it in the past, but yeah, you have spots on your shrouds, on your fender, on your helmet, etc., where Patreon supporters can come on, and that lets them get involved. They see their name on the bike, and that's been pretty successful for you, it seems like.
Yeah, it's actually been really cool, because so even right now we just added a couple new kind of spots to the bike where it has your name. Until it gets filled, I put your name on there, right? Yeah. So then if people come to the races and they don't necessarily want to subscribe to the Patreon, and it's because obviously Patreon's a monthly subscription service. If they just want to come up, hand me $100 cash at the race, boom, I'll let them sign the bike kind of deal right over one of those your names, or we'll find somewhere like that. So that's been really cool. This past weekend, Stank Dog did it. So he gave me $100, and I had 3 other fans do it. And then honestly, it was actually pretty cool, because apparently Paige Craig watched my vlog on her flight because her son had downloaded it to her YouTube, yada, yada. She didn't have any service. So she watched that and figured out that you could come and donate and write your name on the bike. So actually, after I hole shotted Christian in the heat race, she came over and she donated some money, signed the bike and everything like that. It was included in her vlog and my vlog. So that was super cool. But yeah, it's just creating some kind of fan experience, right? That's why we try to include them in the vlog too, because then that stuff lasts forever. They can show their friends, they're excited about it. And it helps support my racing. It pays for hotels, flights, entry fees, all sorts of stuff. And it's just by having fun and giving people experiences, and then me getting experiences as well. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me.
Love it.
I got 2 very different ended questions. One of them we'll get back to actually the vlogs. I had a question about some, but first talking about the program, what you can do going into next year. So again, what you did this last weekend is a big step. If you can keep doing that the rest of the season, it will open eyes. But as with anything, I don't want to be like Debbie Downer, but it's okay, it's getting later in the season. Again, the opportunities we talk about, I kind of understanding what you do. I'm sure there are some smaller programs you could get on next year, but I would definitely argue that you're putting yourself in a better position doing your own thing. I tell this to a lot of predators, like, hey, you can kind of build a better program for yourself than most small efforts really can. It gets to the point that really only the big teams are the better opportunity. So with that, you have to do this again next year on your own. What would be your biggest focus to improve about your program? What would help you the most? Like, what would be your off-season goals to raise, and where would you put it? What do you think would have the biggest effect the next year to finally kind of help you, make the jump?
That is a great question as well. You guys got a lot of good ones. You know what I mean? My biggest concern going into next year is the bike that I'm going to be riding, right? So obviously I know the guys are starting to figure out the 23 or the 20, whatever, the newer model bike. They're starting to have better results on them. Now, I don't know. I don't have the information of how many changes they made to that bike to make Coop like it, yada, yada, yada. How different is it from the production one that they're selling? So, I mean, I'm in a point where do I stay on the 2022 because I know it. I have suspension for it. I have all the parts for it. I don't have to change anything. So, the R&D side of that is probably going to be the first situation I need to go through. And hopefully, I don't know if KTM, seeing obviously that I'm pulling starts on their factory machines, hopefully they can give Kev a little help. But, at least send me in the right direction of what things I should do if I want to go to the new model. But other than that, things for my program that I would like to kind of solidify a little bit better is probably having some kind of suspension guy at the races. Specifically to help me, so I'm not making my own changes and guessing to an extent. Chris does a pretty good job. I would not mind if I, stay on the same program, next level racing team, Chris taking me to the line. Like, that all works really well. I have that all ironed out pretty great. The biggest thing for me is just more race day help. So that's, just better setup and a little bit better organized program altogether. So there's nothing really super crazy I would change besides better equipment that, I would love to be able to get my hands on. That is obviously for factory guys only. And then just the help, maybe if, KTM could at least be able to help me I can send some videos to their suspension guys and then give me pointers kind of deal. Like something like that would be sweet over me just shooting in the dark,
Definitely. Yeah.
I think it's actually, if I'm going back to when Weston Pike really went all in on himself, the 1 year bet on himself, built his Suzuki program. A lot of people might not know this, but something that he spent quite a bit of money on is he had a suspension technician of his own at every race. That was something that he went in, he put together. I think that was different. That was like when video stuff was early, motorsport was spending money. He was able to come up with a really good budget when they did that. But that was one of the things he actually did. So my other question is about the vlog. So we have a lot of riders doing them now. The difficult part is everybody sees it and thinks, oh, I'll instantly get views. It'll be good for me branding wise. And as you know, it is extremely tough to be consistent with them. That is, there's a lot of people that can turn out a vlog here or there. It's really tough for somebody to actually do it consistently, build a community around it, etc. However, with that, there are quite a few riders that are getting good at it. When I look at YouTube content in general, other sports, just other avenues, whether it's fitness, makeup stuff, things that trend really well on YouTube, you have a lot of content creators that begin to collab a lot more. A lot of guys in the car industry do that. Have you gone to that point with your stuff where some of the riders that are really on top of their stuff like you, have you started to try to do any more of that, or have you thought about that to help kind of build and grow together?
I need to a little bit more. Obviously I kind of piggybacked because they piggybacked off the Craigs a little bit this weekend. They included me in their vlog, which I think is going to be very beneficial. Deegan obviously has a really good program as well. I'm kind of buddies with him. I talk with him, at most track walks and stuff like that. So, I think that is kind of more of a step I need to look a little bit farther into. But me being kind of the one-man show of doing everything and a majority of bike work and a majority of, obviously I got to make a helmet wrap video. I got to, my little bike branding, which is like a logo of a business that we put on the bike for each individual round. There's a lot of stuff that's just on my plate that I'm so focused on race days and like even race weekends and during the week. Like that's why I just so busy that I need to try to free up a little bit of time, or I need to almost get like an assistant, you know what I mean? So it's just part of it, but we are growing the YouTube thing. It's been really good. The fans do like it because we do kind of have the little spinoff of the including the signatures and all the stuff. Like fans can actually be in the vlog, so they want to come by to maybe try to be in the vlog. Obviously, help support the program. They sign the bike, and then they're pretty much going to be in the vlog kind of deal. So it's a cool fan interaction standpoint. Obviously, the Moranz Mafia stuff, kevinmoranz.com. You can hit the Moranz Mafia tab and learn how to join that. However, it's kind of like playing fantasy, right? Like, I love football. I played football all the way through high school. That's obviously my second favorite sport. Now, would I watch all the games if I wasn't playing fantasy football? No. Like, fantasy changes the game for me, and it makes me enjoy watching. So to have a system where somebody can support me, whatever, their name is on the bike that they're watching on TV, they're going to be a lot more invested in it. So I don't know. We're getting just creative with those kinds of things. I think it works out really well.
Kevin Moranz tonight, brought to you by Guts Racing, gutsracing.com.
And so, Kevin, when you're get the whole shot and you're leading a race like that, obviously the adrenaline's crazy and, you know, heartbeat's going fast, but it's kind of funny how it works. So you have the open track, and therefore it should technically be easier, but you're in the front and all the pressure's there, you know, but being in the, you know, maybe if you don't get the start, you're kind of struggling to maybe make decisions on what can I jump or how can I pass this person while being safe. What was more stressful, having that whole shot and being the guy out front, or, you know, trying to not die in 14th or 15th?
Oh, Sonny boy, you just wait until I get another whole shot. Your boy's going to be sending it, because
Nice.
I 100% guarantee you, I've been in way too many stressful LCQs, winning those things. I can deal with that pressure, right? I understand. I can be the one that's a grown up enough to say, yes, I'm not Chase Sexton's pace. Yes, I'm not Tomac's pace. Yes, I'm not Cooper Webb's pace. But sure as shit, I'm going to try to hang with them as long as I can, kind of deal. So if I get out front again, even like I said this weekend, like, I was pretty calm and collected over the finish line. I knew my situation. Yes, I knew those were going to get around me eventually, but I told myself, you're going to hold this as long as you can, and I don't care what you got to do it, kind of deal. So I'm very comfortable being in front and using that to my advantage. Obviously, like you said, it's a lot easier because you have free realm to kind of move around on the track. I just straight up, I made a little bit of mistake. I just went a little long and landed awkward. And obviously my suspension wasn't capable of handling it like theirs, but it's live and you learn, you know what I mean? So 100% I'll take getting that whole shot, getting out front in front of all these dudes every single time over. Yeah. If you're in the middle of the pack, back of the pack, it's mayhem back there and it's tough to get a flow. So no, I don't have any problem dealing with the stress of being up front.
Can I ask one quick follow-up?
Yeah, of course.
As you're, you know, that's a pretty long straightaway. As you're going down the straightaway, was there any point in that where you're like, oh, I got this? Or like, was it just kind of like, holy crap, I'm in the lead?
Well, you know, what's funny is if you see most of the photos, if you take somebody, walk 5 steps from the front of the gate, turn and shoot a photo as soon as we're that 5 steps, 90% of the time you'll see Kevin Moranz's front tire in first place.
I like it.
So I'm really good at obviously getting the jump and that first drive. So almost all starts, I come out like, holy crap, I got this. And then boom, they zip by me.
Yeah.
This one, I think I just shifted a little bit better. Obviously I have the finesse of the clutch down pretty well. So I just shifted and I knew I kind of edged Sexton out a little bit. So I knew I had the elbow on him. So I was like, okay, nobody's going inside of me. It's just whether Tomac can zip around the outside of me kind of deal. And coming into that first corner, I was like, your boy's got this. I was pretty stoked. So
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, congrats on that. Last question for you, Kevin. You're currently, I believe, 20th in points. What are your plans? Did you already have plans for outdoors, the Super Motocross season this year? What are your thoughts on it? What's your goals?
So outdoors is a little bit different scenario for me. Any opportunities out there, hit your boy up. But, you know, as of right now, probably going to go into outdoors. But what I was going to say is the Next Level Racing team was not going to do outdoors. So I was going to be on my own, have to find transportation system, yada, yada, yada. As of right now, I think they're looking into finding other people, other privateers that want to do a transport system. So they might be doing outdoors, which then opens up the door to make it a little bit easier for me. However, I'm still on the board of, you know, finding opportunities there because Chris, the guy that is obviously our team manager, the one that takes me to the line, the one that helps me, he's not going to be going to all the outdoor rounds. So then I really am going to be on my own for outdoors. So I am looking for help. I am looking for a situation that would make my life a little bit easier. Mechanic stuff, you know, I'm going to need a little help if I want to do outdoors. Obviously, it'd be nice to race it. Yes, if I can keep myself in the points battle, I'll probably do it. That being said, I am really curious. I would love for them to release the information how much we're going to get paid for outdoors. I know they're talking about all the stuff, bumping up the pay and doing all this stuff, which I mean, the Supercross pay changed for the 450 class, maybe $100 or $200 a position, at least lower down where I am right now. So I'm interested to see what the pay is for outdoors, what they're going to bump it to, how much more worth it is it for me to do that. But if it just depends on where I'm at in points, the situations, if I get an opportunity or get a little bit of support, have a mechanic that helps me, or if, a World Supercross offer comes around, I wouldn't be against doing that, or maybe even doing a bit of both, right? Doing outdoors and then just missing the 2 rounds that you can't do because of World Supercross. Like, I'm pretty wide open when it comes to after Supercross. I'm just mainly focused on Supercross right now. So if anybody's got any opportunities, hit your boy up.
All right. Kevin, thank you for coming on tonight. Congrats on a great, obviously your finish wasn't what you wanted, but you rode really well. The starts were awesome, and I love your enthusiasm, man. Appreciate you coming on with us tonight.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. I felt like that was pretty solid. So, yeah. Go to kevinmoranz.com, grab some merch, join the Moranz Mafia. I appreciate you guys, and, hopefully we'll do this again soon.
All right, Kevin. Take care. We'll see you in Glendale.
All right. Thank you.
See you, man. All right. Thanks to Kevin Moranz coming on tonight, brought to you by Guts Racing. I also want to point out, just for you guys that are obviously going to Vital and checking things out at Vital, I've got an interview coming up next week with Rich Taylor that I did this week. Rich Taylor's the owner of X Brand, and X Brand has quietly grown into one of the premier goggle choices available. Using some of the most grueling conditions by 2022 GNCC XC2 champion Lyndon Snodgrass, the 2022 GNCC ATV Pro champion Bryson Neal, and just recently, Craig DeLong and Josh Strang crushed it at... What round was that? That was all muddy, ML. The last round. What round was that? You remember?
I don't know.
Well, okay.
It was muddy.
Yeah, it was super muddy. It was one of the muddiest.
Was it the general? It was in South Carolina, I thought.
Okay. Well, yeah. So the most recent GNCC was absolutely a mud fest, and top 2 guys.
This was your point, and you didn't research it, and you asked me in the middle of your read.
I just expect you to know everything, ML.
I thought he did.
Yeah, I thought he did too. I thought he knew everything. I'm sorry.
It was the general. I was right, but I forgot. It's in Georgia.
Okay. Well, visit xbrand.com or go to your local dealership and ask for X Brand goggles distributed through WPS. We've got a few minutes before we get Cole Seeley on, who still has not responded, so that might go south. Really.
Yeah, bring that up.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's just throw that out there, Mr. Negative.
Good negative side.
Starts as
negative
question.
side.
Negative.
That sounds
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine. Negative. That's better than broke side, Dick.
Brooks.
Pretty sure that was ML's doing.
You can beat Dick side.
That was it was broke side, walletless side, low credit score side. I can't remember. I came up with a few that night.
Yeah. What a friend.
Backstab side.
Backstab side.
All right, I got a question that I want to.
All of it is better than quit side, though. I am so proud.
Yeah.
Ooh, that
Quit
one's
side.
gone. That story's coming out soon too. The GNCC story from Florida.
I'm sitting here at the table with a couple guys who have recently this year quit on stuff. I'm just saying. I mean, you didn't this last one, but the one before you did, and
That was last year.
he quit.
He quit loaded
I
up,
was
just went
out.
home. I at least hung out for a while.
Dude, I was done, dude. I was done with the woods, man. I was going to watch
But
the Cowboys game.
At least he took care of the bike and washed it, and right.
No,
Oh
he
no,
didn't.
that's right. He
But,
didn't.
I mean, I didn't either, but I had a team to do that.
Oh, fair enough.
Pretty sure that I put my efforts into saying that, hey, I would come watch the bike if it was really that big of a deal.
You were already gone.
I would have come watch the bike.
Okay, we're
All
not
right,
getting back
moving
into
on.
that.
Okay.
I got a question for everybody. Obviously, Chase has dropped back in the championship a little bit. We just talked about all the issues he's having. TJ, do you feel like the only 2 guys that can win this championship realistically are Coop and Eli, or do you feel like there's a pretty good high percentage chance that Chase could get back into it and be there at the end?
Eli has proven that he can have strange nights.
Okay.
So I think the door is open. I think it's an outside chance, not a good chance of what you're saying. But I mean, I think the door is always open when you have those guys who have had, random bad nights, and then Cooper can win. But if he consistently is going to be pulling thirds, talking about, or fourths and stuff like that.
Well, I think my real question is, can Chase win the championship?
Yes.
TJ, Scotty?
What is the points damage? What did it go down to?
I had
22.
22.
22.
Yep. Dude, I mean, that's a
lot.
whole race.
Yeah.
There is 6 rounds left. I mean,
Yeah,
anything's
there's 6
possible,
rounds,
but
yeah.
Like, even if he wins all the rest of them, as long as the other guys stay pretty consistent, and it's not going to happen.
I guess it's kind of, I would say the title fight is between Cooper and Eli. Can Chase still win it? Yes, but the title fight.
I didn't mean it's absolutely impossible. I just what do you think he could, like, realistically? Do you think he could get back in the championship by the final round?
I just think that they're going to be. I think Cooper's going to be too consistent for that to happen.
Yeah,
Do you think that Eli will be consistent to the end?
I think that those.
Yes.
I think that all of those 7th or 8th. Maybe he didn't say I'm going to go get 8th tonight, but I think a lot of that's calculated. Like, hey, I'm older. I don't have it tonight. I'm just going to, I'm not going to get 15th. I'm just going to settle for my 6th and take my points, and then come do what I got to do the next time. So I think it's more. I think it's more calculated than we're all giving it credit for.
ML, what are your thoughts?
I think you'll see less of those performances from both Eli and Coop. Eli admitted that he was more in a funk. I know after the race, he always try to say, "Oh, well, I just didn't have it, so I settled."
Right.
But you can tell it bugs him. The two of them are two that rise to the occasion. They will do it less in the next couple races. They will force, because we're thinned down. Like, yes, earlier in the season, it was easy to take a step back and take a 5th. Coming in these bottom couple rounds, there will be more pressure on him. Eli's sitting in 7th. He knows Coop's in 2nd or something. He will try harder. He will do what he has to make this happen. They both are the kind of guys that can rise to occasions. That's how they get it done. As for Chase's chance, I think when me and Lewis did percentage pies, I gave it only a 1% chance. My main reason for that is we're talking about just statistically, historically here. I just can't see Chase getting through the next 6 races without another issue. Like how he would literally have to change his stripes completely. I mean, if he can, amazing. But yeah, just a low chance when you look at everything that's kind of happened before this. Yeah, it's easy to go, well, over these next 6 races, Coop or Eli will each have a bad night. Well, I'm going to say Chase is going to have 2 more.
Right.
Okay.
Based on averages.
ML, I got a question for you. So,
Oh, sure. Just go ahead and run the show.
yeah. Oh my God. Over or under 3? There's 6 rounds left. Over or under 3? Chase Sexton wins.
Over, under. Wins 3 rounds?
Yeah.
Under.
Yeah.
Under. Okay. Over
2.
or under 2?
Oh, I'm going to say 2.
You're going to say
He'll
2?
get 2 more wins.
So a push?
Yeah. Yeah. That all you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I agree, ML. I'd almost go 0% chance of Chase winning the championship.
Never.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say 0.
And Lewis's hitman is coming for you.
I'm sorry, Lewis. Lewis. Yeah,
I heard he's already in Texas.
We're going to talk.
play-
We're going to talk about that situation.
I
want to
hear the horn. The Sexton ship.
Oh.
Is there a version of it while it's sinking?
Ultimately, I've decided on the Sexton ship, and I am the Capitan.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's fading a little.
That's the noise that they blew that right before they hit the iceberg.
I did it going as it goes under.
Poor guy, man.
Lewis is never coming on the show again.
Lewis
He's
is
done.
in the chat right now. You know that, right? Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
He said I cry 24/7.
Poor Lewis. Man, Lewis is going to be mad at me, but sometimes friends fight.
When's he not?
He's almost never mad at me for real. It just people think he is. We're going to get to that in a little bit too. Hey, by the way,
I'm about to
I meant
say.
to tell you 3, new segment, the Prox highs and low segment. So I need you guys to think about your high points
Already
and
got
your
them.
low points
I was
from
prepared.
Seattle. Well, I didn't tell you that.
I love that
Did I?
I've been informed about new segments.
No, you.
Oh, I
Great.
told you guys. I didn't
told
tell
us. You
ML.
tell
There you go,
ML.
ML. So think about a high point and a low point from Seattle.
ML's not going to have any issue talking.
No.
Nope.
Well,
Give me the
the new
stage,
segment
sir.
was his idea.
Point the spotlight at me. I'm ready to go.
WUSA. Guys, WUSA wheels on my bike. They are amazing. WUSA is your source for all things wheels. If you're looking for a complete set of wheels for your bike, we have something for every budget. If you want to use the same wheels used by Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, Malcolm Smith, Christian Craig, Chad Reed, and Jeremy McGrath, just to name a few, we have what you need. We have the exclusive W Edge wheel set starting at $799. As the exclusive import of Han, Kite, and Talon hubs, as well as Excel and DID rims, we can build your dream wheels. So give us a call or check us out, WUSA.com, or follow us on Instagram to see some of the latest and coolest builds we have. Do not forget to use that promo code MotoXpod to save on your order. One more question before we get to Cole Seeley. A couple guys that I was expecting a little bit more out of these last couple rounds is Aaron Plessinger and Ken Roxon, Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
Just I want them after those couple good races. Obviously, Kenny won a race. AP almost won a race. I really, really wanted them fighting for a podium. Like, I wanted them close, and they weren't as close as I thought they should be. That almost should be my low for the Prox highs and lows, but it's not going to be. So, yeah, man, what do you think? I just feel like they need to be producing a little bit more at this point.
I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding. I mean, it's just all those 7-8 guys, you know, you can kind of interchange them anywhere, and it kind of just depends on how the night goes. I mean, when the gate drops, any of those guys can be the podium or the 8th place. So, I mean, I think just what you see is what you get. I mean, yeah, I don't think that their rides indicate that they couldn't be in the podium. It just didn't happen. I
guess I expected, and TJ, you were shaking your head a second ago, but I just thought the win and the almost win would boost them up just a little bit more.
I thought that, I think he, in my opinion, as far as dealing with AP, he was just coming in probably hoping for some mud races and all, and then when it wasn't, I just think it probably took a little bit of wind out of his sail. You know what I mean? Like, you come in expecting that I'm going to be good at this, and then
I think though he believes, especially after Detroit, that he's as good and he's good enough to win. So rain or not, mud or not.
I mean, obviously Moranz believes that he can.
What mud race though are we talking about?
No, I'm saying that
People thought there was going to be one.
Yeah,
he wanted to be a muddy race. So
Moranz thinks that he's going to pull every hole shot too. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Scotty, before I go to ML, what you said, you had another comment?
I don't know what we were talking about now.
All right, ML. So what do you think, man? No boost.
I'm completely fine with what they're doing. I think it's almost more of a miracle that we're this deep into a championship with Chase, Tomac, and Webb, and that people are reinserting themselves into it. It is heavily overstated how momentum shifts. Look at somebody like Anderson that hasn't found the momentum this year. He can run with these guys. We saw it last year, and he may next year. It just happens when guys typically miss the boat early season of kind of going with the championship. It's not that the championship guys are necessarily that much better. They just, everything clicks that year. They carry the momentum, whether it's mental flow, all these things. I think it's just amazing that Aaron, Kenny, Justin have put themselves into these conversations this late in the season, while Chase, Tomac, and Cooper all still riding amazing. None of them have gone hurt. None of them have crashed out of races or anything of that nature. So I'm not disappointed that they haven't been able to back up. I'm more amazed that they've been in these conversations.
Okay, fair enough. FXR is designed by racers for racers. With industry-leading fit and finish and performance, progression is the name of the game with every new piece created. At FXR, we push our brand to the next level to provide you with the best products possible. So visit fxrracing.com to see the numerous gear lines and colorways, as well as all the snow lines and lifestyle casual wear, or go to your local dealership. Tonight, FXR brings us former factory rider Cole Seeley. What's up, Cole?
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're all right. You're a little low. Let me turn you up here. Dude, good to have you back. How'd that feel?
Oh man, it was a lot, but it was fun. We accomplished some goals and checked off some boxes, so I'd call it a successful night.
Well, let's go straight to that. What were the goals coming in? What made it successful for you?
Really, the goal, going into last year when we did the 2 rounds of World Supercross, I wasn't very comfortable, and I really wasn't from a competitive level. I wasn't where I wanted to be when we lined up. Just I did my homework, I did my riding and training and all that kind of stuff, but just the experience was lacking. So this was just a kind of a trial run to get me comfortable and ready. And just the main thing was just comfort. And I came out of the weekend feeling a lot more comfortable. Even the couple of days that we've had at the test track since then, I've had a little bit more pep in my step and definitely learned what I need to focus on. I am a seasoned rider, but at the same time, I feel like I'm jumping right back into this, and I feel like I'm a rookie all over again. So it's definitely a different kind of situation that I'm used to lining up with all these guys.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time you raced a U.S. Supercross was Vegas, maybe in 19. I don't know if that's okay. What has changed? Does it feel like a lot's changed?
Oh yeah, a ton has changed. I mean, when I stepped away, I didn't really ever plan on racing competitively again, especially at this level. So kind of when I stepped away, I was like, the monkey's off my back. I don't got to worry about the pressure, or I don't have to worry about, the stress that I put under myself stepping back into it. So I kind of came back into it almost blind again, where I was like, man, I completely forgot what it's like to be on the track. And not only that, but the competition is so high now. It was high then when I stepped away, but it's, everyone stepped their game up. Everyone's faster than they were. So it's a lot to digest for me. And I'm, a little older now, so I'm not as, willing to put my body and my life on the line like I was back then. So a little bit more playing it safe mentality. And like I said, I just wanted to get more comfortable for World Supercross. And really the goal is just to make it out of these two healthy and feeling a little bit more energized and refreshed, lining up for, July 1st, when we line up for the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about, like, I guess a little bit of a shock coming in with the racing and stuff like that. As a Cole Seeley fan, a lot of us were a little bit, I mean, I hate to say this, disappointed with the ride. Like, when you came in after the weekend, were you like, okay, I need to change some stuff? Or you coming in going, no, this is where I thought I would be? Because as somebody who's watched you racing coming up and always at a front runner in my mind, I was kind of like, oh, wow, this was shocking to see, like, I guess the fall off. And I don't mean to be rude. It's just where are you with that?
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. I mean, that's the thing, is like, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm like, I know where I used to be. And like, part of me is like, come on, man, push towards the front, and you belong up there. But at the same time, I'm at a completely different stage of my life. And honestly, like, in the main event, my main goal was just get out of that heat race clean. That was like what I had my sights set on, was perform well in the heat race. And even going into the heat race, I was a little bit in my head about it, because the track, like, was so brutal. It didn't really look like it on TV, but I was talking to Christian Craig and Justin Barsha right before the heat race, and they're like, man, you came back at the wrong time. This is the worst track we've had all year. And I'm like, oh, thanks guys. Thanks for welcome back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that you picked a hard one to come back.
So yeah, I struggled with comfort all day, like, just kind of finding my flow. Nothing to do with the bike. The bike's great. I'm really happy with the chassis, and the progress that the team's developed with the bike is awesome. But the track. But yeah, in the main event, really what it came down to for me, it was a bit of fitness, but like, what really got me kind of in my head was, I know where these guys are at in their championship fight, especially the top three. So when I see them, gaining on me a lap down, I've been in their shoes before. I've been the guy lapping guys, and I know how frustrating it is. So I was a little overcautious letting them by. My times dropped a lot every time I got lapped, because I was just trying to stay out of the way, and really not be that guy that holds up the leader, or holds up a guy in fifth place who might be, fighting for a fifth place spot in the points series or something like that. So I was a little over courteous when it came to that. But again, I have all the respect in the world for these guys and what they're doing every single weekend. And I just wanted to, not have any slight incident with any of these guys. So it was a little, like I said, a little overcautious in that kind of sense.
I was wondering, what's it been like coming back to ride the 450 now? You tried the 250 for WSX last year. I think there's a lot of good memories that people have of you on a Honda 250, what you were capable of in Supercross. But man, 250s, they take a lot of aggression, I think, that we forget about after you've stepped away. Has it been as hard as a 450 is to ride, though? Has it been easier for you to come back and adapt to a 450 than it was to try to find that pace on a 250?
Yeah. I mean, not to make excuses. I didn't blend well with the 250. I really like riding the 250. Like, it's like when I go to the test track and ride it, I have a blast on it. It's the chassis, I think, with, the two Honda chassis, I think the 250 chassis with that engine works really well. Not to say that the 450 doesn't, but it's actually a surprising difference in the, the feeling of the chassis. I really enjoyed riding it, but when it comes time to racing, I fit, like, my riding style fits the 450 a lot better. And I wanted to race 450 last year. The main purpose for racing 250 was that was all the only spot available on the Moto Concepts team. And I really wanted to, come back on a team that kind of has a really good foundation and a good program and people that I trust. So that was really the only reason for riding the 250, because it was the only slot available. And then, with Justin Brayton moving on, the spot opened up for 450, and thankfully I was able to, land a spot on the team on a 450 this year. So, I really enjoy riding both of them, but I think when it comes time to race, I think the 450 suits me a little better.
So going, what you're preparing for right now is the WSX season that's upcoming. As far as we're aware, Kenny's not going to be racing. Eli, a couple of the bigger names from last year. Sounds like JB will be back, but you're on a 450 that nearly won the title, both in JB and Vince's hands. How does it make you feel coming into the season, like goal wise, going into that? Again, not trying to say like, oh, the big guy's gone, but the guy who held the number one plate won't be there. Does that change your perspective at all on like where you think you'll be in terms of, top 5 podiums, championship level and stuff for the WSX season? Does it motivate you a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't necessarily motivate me more, but it's, the thought of, potentially winning or being on the podium, being that much more within reach is definitely, definitely puts a smile on my face. It's cool I love Kenny. I love hanging out with him. I love riding with him. He's obviously an insanely talented guy. But yeah, to have him, have his focus on outdoors, I think that's in the position that he's in his career, that, and his age, I think that's probably the right move for him. So I'm happy for him, but yeah, for me, I think it's a, positive being able to line up with one less guy that I'm probably not going to beat every single weekend. So, it's good. It's the bike, the team, everything is really good. They've been around for years and years and years, and they've developed a really good foundation and a program that really works. And all the guys in our corner, make my job that much easier. We have a good engine package, especially on the 450. The engine package is really good. Suspension, working with Showa again has been awesome. Our guy Kaz over there is, one of the best guys I've worked with when it comes to setting up the suspension. I think we've had like only 2 test days, and I really haven't changed much. He kind of just, hit the nail on the head the first try. So it's good. That's the, like, going back to what I said about wanting to race the Moto Concepts guys. That's exactly why, because I know that they know what they're doing, and I know that I can trust them, and I can trust everyone in my corner, and it's just one less thing to worry about.
So WSX last year was just 2 races, so maybe hard to get a sampling for it. But between that, getting prepped for this, kind of where's your head at with continuing racing? Is this a total see how this year goes, or are you already kind of feeling like there's a chance that we see you continue in WSX and select events maybe for a couple more years, or are we still just really seeing how things go at this point?
I'm still kind of just seeing how things go. Last year, and I have to take it with a grain of salt, because I hit the ground 5 times out of the 6 races, and the only race that I didn't hit the ground, I got second. So I was really bummed with that, but it lit a fire underneath me that I haven't had in a while. So when I got home, just taking mental notes, taking actual notes, thinking like, okay, what do I need to work on? Where did I because the racing's so different. Like, I felt like I overtrained in some aspects, like focused too hard on certain things and kind of, let other things kind of wash away, where I was like, man, it's a completely different series. It's a different style of racing. And now going back to this year, I know what I need to focus on. I know where I need to be better. And, the team has given me all the tools I need. It's just really applying myself to, be a better racer when it comes time to line up again. And one of those things was a comfort issue. So, our last race was mid-October of last year. So Tony and Mike Genova, we hopped on a conference call, and, I told them, I just want to be comfortable coming in. And Mike was the one that was like, well, what do you think about doing Seattle and Glendale? We're already going to be there. You can, hop on a 450 and just, no pressure, just go get comfortable, have fun. I just want you to get some gate drops and have confidence coming into the World Supercross round. So that's really this whole, 2-race trial that I'm doing is going to pay off big time when it comes to lineup for those guys. So I think this year I'll be prepared. I'll know what to focus on at the test track. I'll know what to focus on in my training, and we can come in, 10 times more prepared than we were last year.
Nice.
Hey, Cole, so what do you think has changed more, the raw speed of everybody itself, or the fact that, because you were doing timed races before you left, right? You did at least a season or two of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the races go longer, so obviously the track gets rougher. So is it the raw speed of the pace itself, or the fact that these guys are able to do that in lap 25, 26, and still keep a really tight race at the end? Which one do you think has changed more drastically?
It's both. I mean, the sport's evolving every single year, right? I mean, you got guys like Eli and Cooper and, even Chase sometimes that can hold that pace, like you said, throughout the whole 23, 25 laps, whatever it is on any given night. Their conditioning's there. They hit their marks every single lap. Their lap times don't fall off, even though the track's getting a lot more beat up and harder to ride. They're still on the top of their game. But the raw speed, I think, is also, turned up a notch or two. I think we see that out of Chase the most. He's, any given night is the fastest guy on the track for sure. It's just, I think he's lacking that last little bit that Eli and Cooper have, being seasoned veterans and being in this sport for so long, having that experience of knowing like, all right, I made a bobble here, but next lap I'm not going to do that. I just need to focus on hitting my marks. I think Chase might get in his head a little bit, probably just because he's so young. I think we all forget that. But it's impressive, man. It's like I said, I mean, I watch these guys every single weekend with my jaw on the floor. Like, it is unbelievable how fast they are and how long they can hold that pace. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, was I did not want to get in their way. I didn't want to cause any sort of drama with any of even in my heat race. Like when I saw Barsha behind me, I was like, all right, this guy's been on it the last 2-3 weekends in a row. He's been a potential race winner all year long. And I don't want to have any, he actually ran in the back of me going over the wall. And I was like, oh man, like I could have cost him his night right there. So it kind of, like I'm trying to be as selfless as possible when I'm out there, but also try and like ride my race, stay within my means, and keep the goal in mind. And that's, getting comfortable and learning how to be at speed for an extended period of time again.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if Barsha actually hit you, or if it was just close, because on TV, I think Todd Harris said, oh, he hit him, and it was really hard to tell. I wonder if he actually made contact.
Yeah, it was slight. It was very slight contact, but yeah, he bumped me in my back wheel, and it was probably his fault, but I felt bad about it. I was like, oh man, I don't want to, I know this guy's been on the podium, I think, now 3 weeks in a row or something like that. And he's a potential guy. He's also a Troy Lee guy like myself. So, I don't want to cost anybody any points that, if I wasn't there, that wouldn't happen.
So, to kind of follow up my question, it's a little bit of the ultimate bench racing question, but, I guess the best way to ask it is compared to what capabilities was there for them to use. Who do you think he's actually going faster, like Sexton or somewhere like in the Stu Villapoto, because you rode both those guys?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to compare guys like that. Like they all three have just such insane raw speed. I think out of those three, though, I think Villapoto was the more calculated one. Mm-hmm. He was a little bit more like Eli. Eli's got an insane amount of raw speed also, but you can see when he's not comfortable, he backs down a little bit. I don't see that in Chase. He's just, puts everything on the line every single night, which is very impressive. But I think there's a little bit more calculations with Villapoto, and I think Stewart, when the competition was, there were some years where Stu was just untouchable when the competition got close. I think you see that comparison to Chase and Stewart a little bit more, where cool. They both just, they want to be the fastest guys. They want to win every single night. Mm-hmm. And hats off to them. That's, something that is not feasible for a lot of guys. It's when you're not feeling comfortable, it's hard to break through that and throw caution to the wind and just let her eat. But
Right.
yeah, Chase is impressive. He's the future of our sport. I think when he gets it figured out, those little mistakes he makes, he's just going so fast that one little mistake, like a little front end tuck like he's had a few times this year, he's going so fast that those little front end tucks, they add up, that extra 5 miles an hour that he's carrying into the turn. It's not going to be a little tip over there that he can correct or has time to correct. It happens so fast. So once he can figure that out, I think that he's going to be nearly unbeatable guy. But then we got guys like Jet Lawrence stepping up to 450 and the motorcycle racing, supercross and motocross is in a good spot right now. We got a lot of talent out there, very deep field, and yeah, hats off to these guys. Cause I've been there. I've been that guy that's, one of the front runners, and it takes a lot, but these guys are even faster now. And I have a lot of respect for them.
That's awesome. Cole, I got just a couple more for you. Looking back on your career, any regrets, any decisions that you would have liked to have done differently when you look back?
I wouldn't say regrets. No, I don't have any really regrets. Cause I come from a very modest background. My first year in 2009, I was a nobody. I was, I got lucky to land a spot on a privateer team, and I got lucky to show some speed here and there. And after that, I was going to college. Like I was ready to, the guys were just faster than me straight up. And I knew that. I got lucky. I got breaks here and there, and, signing onto the Troy Lee team in 2010 was really a lucky thing for me. And so I don't have any regrets. I'm very thankful for all the people I've got to work with in my, my past career and my new second chapter of my career. And, I've had things like, offers from other teams and stuff like, oh, I wonder, how it would have played out like that. You're always going to wonder that. But, I got to ride for factory Honda for 5 or 6 years. So that's like, you don't get much better than that. That's right. Like, it's an honor to work for those guys, and the whole team, the whole corporation has been, really good to me. And, I'm very thankful for that. So yeah, I mean, there's always that question like, oh, what if I would have signed a KTM or somebody else throughout the years and what would my career have looked like? You wonder that, but to call it a regret, I think that's a little harsh. I was very lucky to be where I was, and I knew that. I never took anything for granted. I've got to work with Troy Lee I've been with him since 2010, so forever it feels like. Years, so yeah. It's been good. I'm happy, and I look back on my factory days with smiles and a very large amount of gratitude towards everybody that ever gave me an opportunity to race for them.
That's great to hear. Last question I have is, when you are sitting at home and watching these races, I'm a little over it. I like doing it part-time, but do you miss doing it full-time, the travel, everything? I definitely don't miss the travel. We're spread so thin, and these guys, it's impressive. Like I keep saying that, but it's impressive to show that much speed every single weekend, and this deep into the into the season. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of the sport. I'm always going to follow it. But yeah, my wife asked me the same thing, cause I watch it so religiously. She's like, do you ever miss being out there? And I'm like, no, I don't. I had my time in the sport. I got to, live my glory years racing for factory Honda. And, I don't really miss, I miss the community. Like, coming back this weekend felt really special. Like all the riders from, like I did track walk with Chase Sexton, and talking to him and Kenny and Christian Craig and all these guys that I raced against and, grew, great friendships with, and then even like being down on the line and Roger DeCoster wishing me luck in my main event, like guys that I'm like, man, it just feels so cool to come back and still feel that, like that bond that, I've been gone for 4 years and they're still happy to see me back. And it was a special weekend, like my wife never got to see me race in my professional years. So, she was
probably more nervous than anybody else in the pit. So it was kind of a special weekend for us. And
Good.
It felt special to be back, like fans welcoming back, the whole industry. I got to see a lot of people that I haven't seen in years, and everybody was very welcoming, and it was cool for sure.
Great to hear.
Cole, I just had one little question to ask you. Last one. Is there a scenario that exists where, you were 14 after Wyndham was, and the night show needs it? Is there a scenario that exists? You do a free riding well. Was there any possibility that we can start bringing somebody to do the transfers back?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh man.
That's not where I thought you were going.
When I got the number 14, I thought about it, but it like, you guys know what it's like down there. It's so high stress, and Wyndham was a very special individual that could make the most fun out of that stressful situation. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not even opening ceremonies anymore. Rightfully so. I'm not in the top 10. So
they would bring you back.
Yeah,
for that,
I don't see that happening. It's in the jumps he would do. If I had all day at the test track with those jumps, I don't think I could do it.
Right.
Honestly, I think that's the scary part is regardless of your skill level, even somebody like you that's considered like a lot of people like your style and jumping the hills stuff. Like, I don't get it how he came up with some of the stuff he did on walk around track walk real quick and would figure out that he was going to go from point A to point B. Like, it doesn't.
I mean, I know that like I had seen him walking the track and like eyeing that stuff out, and even talking to like the Dirtworks crew about like, hey, can we adjust this so I can jump from here to here? But like, still, like, to take that extra bit of time and that extra little bit of stress is like nobody else is going to do that. That's like, that's insane. He's just such a people pleaser and like people's champ that's why he was the people's champ for so many years. It's just, he's crazy. He's all about it. So I don't think anybody else is going to fill those shoes anytime soon.
I just love the fact that everybody else is so concerned with how am I going to get through this rhythm lane? What line should I use to these whoops? How's this going to break down? He's over there, looking to work. Hey, can we push up some more dirt on the backside of this berm or something? Everybody else they've already got enough on their plate, and Kevin's just over there figuring it out.
I want to jump over the finish line.
Figuring out when he's going to jump in the dark.
Yeah, and then he had that one, I think it was Dallas. I think Carmichael recorded him coming up short.
Yeah,
it's like,
I remember
dude, that. Like it does go bad sometimes, but he's the man. He just brushes it off and probably found a different transfer and still got freaking on the podium that night. Like, he's just like, that's just some like stuff you don't see. And, and hats off to him.
I still have that Dallas one in my phone somewhere. I just saw it the other day. But
I think that's exactly how that night went. Like he did it in the transfer and then podiumed.
Right. Well, Cole, hey, we took enough of your time. Cole Seeley brought to you tonight by FXR. Appreciate you coming on. It was great seeing you back. And, man, look forward to seeing you again in Glendale.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Anytime, man. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you.
All right, see you. All right, thanks to Cole Seeley for jumping on tonight. Again, brought to you by FXR. That was fun, man. It's been a while since we talked to Cole.
It's been a while since there's been a reason to talk to him.
I don't even know, Scotty, if you've ever talked to him on the show.
No, it was like my second episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we had him on once again after that, actually.
All right. Got a few more things to get to, ML. We're not going to talk about Jet winning, but what I want to talk about, the crash in the heat race with him and McAdoo. Like, first of all, like the lap before, there was a close call where Jet jumped and almost ran out of room. I think Cam almost came over, but like just him getting so upset. I know it's the heat of the moment and all, but it's racing, and he's real quick. Jet is real quick to be like, that guy's an idiot type thing. And he seemed to calm down by the main event, but I kind of feel a little bit, ML, like that might be a character trait that Jet needs to get a hold of a little bit, is losing his temper.
Debatable.
I would respond exactly the same.
Yeah,
it's threading the needle. It's part of racing. It's emotion. It's caring. You could say, oh, he should get a grip on it, but I don't know. It's just part of his personality. It's part of what drives him.
Maybe so, but even like when
he's not flipping him off, he's throwing up his hands, frustrated and also Cameron, like, and I'm not saying this from the end of like, to me, it's a total racing incident. Cameron tried to thread the needle. You have to take opportunities when doors are open, when things are on the horizon. However, Cameron is also done this many times. So yeah, I at the end of the day, it's a racing incident to me. I think Jet has all the right to throw up his hands and be angry at him. I think Cameron had all the right to go for it. It's just part of it.
Yeah, and I guess I was adding that on top of Scotty, like when Jet's been in the booth, I think it might have been Arlington where he called RJ an idiot, or somebody called somebody an idiot. Like he gets frustrated pretty quickly.
He's 18, bro.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I get
Hey,
frustrated.
how much when you were 18 did you look at everything and go, freaking idiot?
Dude, that was it.
I still do that, so I guess maybe I don't know. I shouldn't be talking, TJ.
Yeah, I don't know. I had kids at 18, so I don't know.
But you got kids that are 18 and do dumb shit.
Yeah. No, I think it was. Did y'all watch James Stewart's breakdown of it?
No.
It was actually pretty good. And
Why are we talking about another media? No, I'm joking.
No, but because it's James Stewart. I don't care what he does. It's James Stewart. But the point I'm trying to make is his breakdown is kind of the same thing as what ML said. It was a racing incident. I mean, yes, there was mistakes made, but that's what racing incidents are. You're racing, you're trying to make a pass, and then a mistake happens, and that's kind of where I'm at.
That's my thing is like how he can't be that surprised. I mean, you missed the rhythm and he went for it. I mean, this racing incident happens,
Speaking of mistakes, not changing your oil or not putting your drain plug in when you're changing your oil, those are mistakes. But when you do change your oil, Motul, for decades, Motul has developed high performance.
You can't make fun of me and then mess up the reed, man.
Synthetic ester-based lubricants.
Reads all night.
By selecting esters over other high-performance synthetic-based stocks and combining them with an innovative additive. You know what? From now on, you get to do the reads. Additive package. Motul has created a perfect synergy. This most advanced ester core technology allows the maximum power output of the engine without compromising reliability and wear. You can find this in the entire Motul PowerPort. I give up.
Speech impediment side.
See, this is why we should pre-record these things. Power Sports product lineup at their online website, shopmotul.com.
We can't pre-record this because I don't have 5 hours to wait for you to nail it the first
come
time.
on now. The guy that used 27 minutes for a question.
Hey, I use nice, solid words. I'm not over here fumbling every 3 seconds. Same reads
Just a
every
lot of
week.
words.
And enter promo code VITAL20 to receive 25 or 20%. I give up. I quit.
Oh,
I cannot read.
Dude, what happened? Are you okay?
I'm in my head now.
Nervous side.
To receive 20% off your order, $50 or more. I'm out.
I'll say something about that Motul oil.
Jesus.
I've run it for a long time.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
Please
it was like
save me.
building motors. And you almost can't get that oil off of the gears and stuff when you split cases, even with carb cleaner. That ester-based oil does attach itself pretty well, and it probably could have helped him out when he didn't have a drain plug.
I agree. Couple more topics I want to hit real quick. Carson Mumford was on Pro Circuit, made his debut on Pro Circuit. Decent in his heat race, pretty good ride. But what I want to talk about is the history of Pro Circuit. 31 total championships, but they haven't won one since 2017.
It's mind-blowing.
When does Mitch just say, TJ, I can't do this anymore? If you go look at their history, how many did not races because of injuries over the last 10 years, it's unfreaking real.
Well, that's the thing that he can hold is it's not about like I don't have the faster bike or my bike's not good enough or, it's not about the rider's not fast enough. What's holding him back is injuries. Mm-hmm. So I think he can't be just like I'm done.
It's still got to be frustrating.
It's got to be very frustrating.
You got to. It's on this at some point. It's kind of life. I mean, like he had years where he was on the podium, all three guys on the podium every single weekend. So it's life. When you look back at it on the timeline, it's just ups and downs. It's just kind of the way it goes. Peaks and valleys. I mean, it's just unfortunately it's a rough time for them, but. And injury is the cause of it, so it's not the bike. So, I mean, you got to hang your hat on that. He's still selling probably a ridiculous amount of product, so I'm sure he's not hurting that bad.
Right.
And, it's life, man. It's just the way it goes.
ML, but still, you knowing the history with Mitch Payton and how much he loves to win, thankfully he's a little calmer these days, but he's still got to be pulling what hair he has left out.
I mean, yeah, anybody would be frustrated. I just feel for him. I think he's had kids. His riders are kids. I think he sees it like that more. I just feel, I would think from the little bit of perspective I had as a God, I can't even. I feel bad. I'm going to say, a T motor, and I'm like even trying to compare myself to Mitch, not even close. But like you would feel just bad for these guys. Not like you would question things about bike, except things about the bike, like what could we do to get these guys not hurt? Like there's times where you care about these people, and they would just. I feel from probably the frustration, him knowing how much money he puts in, how many hours he puts in, what all these guys do, to see it not pay off. That's got to suck. From knowing what your reputation is and it not working out, that's got to suck. But then watching people you care about continually get hurt, continually get carted off, that sucks. I feel like that would be the worst part of it, really, at this point. Again, it's well, he's had guys here, but to see it this many years, year after year, and watch some of these guys go through these struggles, I would think that would take a pretty big emotional toll on you.
Yeah, we need Pro Circuit to get a win, and Joe Shimoda, I think that's a guy that he's going to be once he's back. That's might be the next guy.
But do you think
if he sticks?
I must say, is he going to stay?
Yeah,
that's the question.
ML probably would have more insight than us.
Yeah.
Because there are some rumors.
The Joe situation?
Yeah, there are some rumors, right?
I think ultimately Joe actually will end up staying. That's my prediction. I don't think the HRC thing's going to happen. I don't. KTM had talked to him, but they're made Kitchen the offer. Trying to think of what other opportunities won't be Star. I think ultimately he'll end up at Cowie. I think they've been a little slow moving. And that's not on people have to understand how that situation works. It's not just totally on Mitch. Like Cowie has to make decisions that produce contracts because they actually pay the riders. Mitch's team situation's a little different than how some of the other OEMs work their 250 deals. I think they'll come together. I know they want to afford. The biggest one that detracts me from thinking the Honda thing will happen, just from conversation I've known people I know there, I don't think budget wise it'll work for what they're asking for. Number two, they, from what I'm aware, from what I've talked to Mertz, is they really want a guaranteed 450 home of some type for Joe. I don't think that happens with everything being in the Jet and Hunter basket in the future. They've made so many comments that they can't run more than 2 450s at that level with the kind of expenditures. I know everybody thinks Honda's a bottomless pit of money. It's not. I don't think the Joe thing will work there purely because of the 450 deal. I think Cowie will end up coming back with a multi-year 250 deal with some sort of 450 option or guarantee. I think they're exploring their options, doing what you got to do. But I think he ends up staying. I'm not saying he won't leave, but I will be genuinely shocked if he does end up elsewhere. All
right. I want to move into the Luxon MXGP recap. Luxon, when it comes to triple clamp, suspension, and chassis parts, there's no comparison. Luxon MX makes the best parts you can buy. Luxon's advanced engineered background and techniques allow them to develop products that are unlike the rest. Lighter and stronger with optimized stiffness to enhance your riding comfort and precision. Luxon products are designed, engineered, and made in the USA. So check them out online at luxonmx.com, and all orders of $100 or more ship for free. Use promo code MotoXpod. ML, the most recent GP, was that Sardinia? Is that how you say it? That was a hell of a race.
Sardines.
Huh?
I like sardines.
Gross.
Not really. Actually, I don't.
Gross, dude. The MX2 class, I kind of came into the season with obviously almost no understanding or background in MXGPs, thinking that Geertz is just going to walk away. And
why are we discussing MXGP and MX2 when we don't have the right person on the phone?
I watched it.
Because there was a race this weekend and Lewis is not here right now. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Kai de Wolf. I didn't realize that he really can run with Geertz, and it's not going to be a runaway championship.
It's a sand race. That's Kai's specialty.
Okay. But what about other rounds? Like I texted Lewis after this. I said, realistically, can Kai de Wolf beat Geertz at other rounds? And he said, yeah, he's definitely got the ability. I mean, do you agree?
No, Kai does.
Okay.
He still has to figure out, staying off the ground a little bit, but I mean, I don't know. It's the whole series right now. I'm just like perplexed still with the qualifying point system. The fact that Geertz is already 30 points up this many races in. I'm just more concerned that in a couple rounds, Geertz will be 60 points up with this qualifying.
Yeah, and just take a weekend off.
Yeah, just take a snoozer.
It's the same with Prado, right? Hasn't Prado won both the qualifying races?
He is leading the points because I think if you eliminate the qualifying points races, I think Hurlings would be the points leader right now on MXGP. Don't quote me on that, but I believe Hurlings would be leading the points if we didn't have a qualifying race points.
Yeah, and you said you watched it?
Yeah, I watched the
highlights.
I watched the GP.
The MX1.
MX2 or MX1 class.
Yeah.
MXGP class.
Yeah.
Oh, did that? Okay, they don't call it MX1 anymore.
I said it right, Michael? I said
Yes,
GP.
I think
Yeah,
so.
okay.
All right,
Yeah.
either way.
Well, GP is the event. MXGP is the class.
Okay.
MX2 is the 250 class.
Well, that second race, again, we talked about the last round, some inconsistencies with everybody's finishes, and that there was a few guys that were more consistent this week, but that seems to be the case still with a lot of guys just all over the place. A lot of crashes, ML, at this round. I mean, Sewer and Favre, just everybody hitting the deck. Renault went down in that sand, but that second moto with Herlings, dude, that was just insanely impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely, of course, what we expect from him. I think this round's really unique. I know that like your classic Lomel or even Europa was on the schedule, like those look really gnarly and menacing because of how deep and bottomless the sand is. But by far, this track looks so much more miserable to me. A little bit choppier, a little bit tighter in some of the corners. Look like it's much harder to carry a flow around this track, where the traditional like Belgium deep sand tracks, the guys can kind of get on top of stuff and rhythm more and carry momentum. This track, a few of the insides they would fall down into. Don't get me wrong, we would see C-class riders like us would look even worse, but there's times where their feet are off, they're dog paddling through stuff. The track was extremely menacing. The amount of crashes do not surprise me after watching it, because I'm pretty sure I would have fallen as many times as the entire class combined in one lap.
Well, yeah. I think everybody's got to be, and this is a given, I guess, that they need to be worried about Herlings, because I think the general consensus was he's going to take a little while to build into this, and yeah, he's not maybe the Herlings of a couple years ago yet, but the way he came through the pack and just passed Favre and Renault in there, it was time to go, and he went. I mean, he passed those guys when he was ready, basically. He went right by and took the overall. It was very, very impressive. I have a feeling everybody is in for some trouble.
Yeah, it's still very early in the season. Second round was sand. I'd like to see a few more rounds. I cannot count out Prado at this point. Renault has been, of course, fantastic. Hopefully Jeremy stays off the ground soon, again, because of the qualifying race format. It's really sad, like how far out he already is on point standings. Just makes, again, just beat my head against the wall with the way they've structured this. It is very early, and again, the qualifying races are throwing enough of weirdness into the points. Sure, Herlings could kill it in a lot of the main motos, but if Prado kind of keeps up the strategy he's been running so far, not that I don't say like he's purposely like, oh, I'm just going to win qualies and not too good, but if he can mentally put himself in a place to continue to dominate the qualifying races and then put together competitive races against Herlings on Sundays, he could keep carrying this championship. But the qualifying races really throws kind of a weird loop into this whole thing.
I have not got a chance to keep up with it the way that y'all have as far as that, but that everybody talks about this qualifying time. I mean, isn't it just another race? Like
points.
I understand it's points, but it's a race.
It's only points for the
top 10
top guy, right? Or is it all
the top 10?
Top 10. Points per position.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm sorry you did bad in one of the races that you didn't get points in, but if they would have done bad outside the top 10 in the main race, they would be behind on points too. I don't understand what the big to-do about everybody's freaking out about this.
It's a shorter format. It pays a weird point spread if you have issues. Qualifying races, track can be smooth. Guys just ride sketchy. It's just not the same. What the guys are used to doing, it's just I'm completely against it, 100%.
I guess it's kind of the same way when they went from Supercross from like a 2-day practice format to a 1-day race. I mean, not for Supercross. I mean, outdoor stuff. When they did that here, isn't it kind of the same thing? It changed, and riders had to adapt how they did stuff.
Yeah, but none of that ever affected the racing. Was still the same in terms of the points payout. Like this is it's apples to oranges. Yes, you have to adapt, but I mean, to put it bluntly, it's so weird to not consider qualifying races part of the overall. So you have a guy who's staying on the podium. This guy has won the GP of Sardinia. This guy has won the MXGP of Belgium, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, oh yeah, but that guy actually got the most points haul for the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had problems with the red plate. The guy who's in third on the podium is actually still leading the points and scored the most points on the weekend.
Right.
What?
Yeah. It was crazy that they went from like not giving any points like that to something drastic as 10 for a win. I mean, I can maybe see like gift pole position a point, like you get, or maybe 2 points, like you get pole position, there's 2 championship points. I think that, makes it a little worth it. It's not really going to change the thing, but 10 points for winning
a lot.
Yeah,
that's huge.
But second place gets 9 points. Third place gets 8 points.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's not like that one person gets 10 points and nobody gets anything.
Yeah, but
Prado
still,
Prado was the points leader after the first round, and he didn't win.
it's confusing. Yeah, like
Actually, now I look back, I think I'm incorrect. Prado still would be the points leader.
Yeah.
Qualifying points, but not by
not by the gap he has.
much tighter. It would be 4
I'm
points.
sorry that the world
7 points
changes.
would be 3 points.
I'm sorry the world changes, guys, but racing changes. They're trying to make it more interesting, or we would
They
wind
are
up.
making it. As a core fan, I disagree severely. Though they are not making it more interesting. They're making it confusing as shit.
Well,
Don't get me wrong. Like I'm okay. So this. I feel like I'm backpedaling against my usual stuff. I do like. I always say, my favorite saying is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. However, when you affect something that the majority of fans hate, the majority of riders hate, nobody's on board with, who are you benefiting?
Yeah. Well, they're benefiting. They want more fans there to
Jorge
watch,
Prado.
right? Well, they want more fans there
Yeah.
to watch the qualifying race. Isn't that the basis
Yeah.
of this?
Yes.
Other than a lot of the GPs don't get me wrong. Yeah, some GPs have huge turnouts. Some of the flyways, it's just glorified paid for races.
Well, I don't know enough about this to obviously speak with any knowledge, but the racing is fantastic. I love it. I'm actually more excited watching these GPs than I am watching our
Now it's
nationals.
time you joined us.
I watched it a couple years ago and I loved it. It just, for time restraints, I quit watching it. But yeah, it's fantastic. GPs are awesome.
Yep.
All right, 2 more segments. The Prox Highs and Lows. This is a new segment rooted in racing from motocross to off-road, supporting teams like Pro Circuit Kawasaki, Ampro Yamaha, and SLR Honda. Prox has been dedicated to supplying quality components since 1975. From complex jobs like an engine rebuild to simple maintenance like filters, chains, and sprockets, Prox aims to bridge the gap between OE quality and affordability. Find Prox at your local dealer or online retailer. Visit prox-usa.com to search parts for your bikes and follow Prox Racing Parts on social media. All right, the Prox Highs and Lows.
ML, we need to send our sponsors a cookie basket tomorrow.
Apologizing. Hey, you know what, motherfucker? Sorry about my language. You get to read the sponsor reads
I'll
next
do it.
week.
Let me see it.
Anyway, Scotty, what are your highs and lows from Seattle? What's your high?
I had a different one. I think I'm actually going to put Kevin Moranz pulling the whole shot. That was cool. My other one was going to be, I can tie it to my negative, I guess. Am I supposed to only do my positive?
Go ahead. You can do your high and
Do
your
what
low.
you want,
Yeah,
Scotty.
Knock it out.
Okay, cool. My low was
Sometime
that
tonight.
the championship is now a 3 or 2-way fight and not a 3-way chase. Kind of chase happened again. That was my low. It happened again, and then the title fights kind of just turned into 2. But that was also one of my highs, was that now we have a tied championship with 6 rounds left.
ML, what are your high? What's your high?
My high is Cooper Webb with the finger gun, because apparently it upsets so many people. The entertainment value is high, including our friend Jamie here.
I'm not upset by it.
My low is definitely these sponsor reads tonight.
And this is the Seattle post show, so yeah.
Fair enough. I can't really.
No, we
argue.
already did that earlier in the week.
TJ?
Oh no, yeah, that was my low. If we're gonna do that, was that noise. And I was
The dishes.
I was
Lewis
texting
getting his
Jamie-
freaking feet mopped.
I was texting Jamie going, "Is Lewis having to work in a kitchen somewhere to pay his bills, because it was terrible?" But anyways,
Probably.
so yeah, my lows were the whoop section was just tiny, and it was like not even there. It wasn't even a factor. I don't know.
It sure was a factor when Eli blitzed through him and passed everybody.
Anyways, that was my low for
Okay.
the I guess the track design. And then my high was Barsha. Like, the dude's riding really good. Like, I guess he's kind of been for the last few rounds. I've been a Barsha fan, and watching him ride, and then the way that you can tell he's walking around, how confident he feels, even as he gets older. That's my high right now, Barsha.
Well, my Prox high is Adam Cianciarillo, qualifying second, third in his heat. Started the main in 4th and was up in 3rd for a moment. He dropped back to 8th, but he's coming around. He's riding better and better. He's coming back into his own. I think, he's got to get through this season, but I'm really happy with where AC's at right now. And then my low is that there's no race this weekend because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do Saturday night. And also Derek Kelly screwing me in fantasy, double points, and then just, I don't know.
I know what you can do this weekend.
Yeah?
Right there, there's
Practice
a piece
my
of paper.
reads?
You can practice those reads.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll have to probably do them because you won't be here next
Got
week.
some homework.
I should be here next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you're jobless. You look homeless and you're jobless.
I don't look homeless, but I am jobless right now. So
Wait, you're jobless?
it's oil
Dude,
field,
oil
bro.
field, man. Oil field life out here is rough.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Yeah.
We need more oil. We've got too much oil.
All right. Last segment is the 6D picks for next week, which there is no race. But since its inception almost 12 years ago, 6D Helmets has been dedicated to the relentless pursuit of brain protection. From the original ATR-1 to its successor, the ATR-2, the goal was to develop a revolutionary design concept utilizing creative, forward-thinking technology that would change the market, improve the safety capabilities of sports helmets. The helmet is the most important piece of protective equipment with your purchase, so visit 6dhelmets.com or go to your local dealership, try them on, buy one. They are fantastic. Our picks last week, Scotty, nobody was right, as usual.
It was close.
Nobody was really even close. Yeah, we all went Webb, Sexton, Tomac. Webb, Sexton, AP, Sexton, Webb, Barsha. So, yeah, we weren't really – nobody was great. We're not very good with our picks. There are no picks this week. Emil, what are you going to do with your weekend off?
Ride my dirt bike.
There you go. What are you going to do, TJ?
Ride my dirt bike.
I'm going to ride my dirt bike. What are you going to do, Scotty?
Play golf, wishing I was riding my dirt bike.
You can ride the two-stroke if you want to come ride it.
You don't
When?
Are you going to
I
watch
think we're
it?
going to ride Sunday. We'll talk off air.
Yep.
All right. Anything else, Emil, before we wrap this thing up?
I think I'm good.
Okay. TJ, Scotty, anything else?
I'm good.
I want to thank Racetech and Boyesen as our presenting sponsor. I want to thank all our other sponsors, Prox, X-Brand, Guts Racing, FXR, 60, Luxon, Motul, WUSA. I want to thank Cole Seeley, Kevin Moranz. I want to thank you guys for being here. Other than that, what?
You just thanked us.
Well, I wasn't thanking you.
Okay.
Other than that,
That's what I thought.
we're out. That's it.